India had a head start over China. They joined the World Trade Organization in 1995. China joined 6 years later in 2001, and yet, by almost every metric, economy, infrastructure, poverty reduction, education, life expectancy, you name it, China has not just caught up with India, it has left it in the dust, transcended it, put it to shame. Let that sink in. The country that joined the global trading system later ended up becoming the world's factory, building futuristic cities, lifting hundreds of millions out of poverty, while India is still figuring out how to keep the lights on during winter. So what went wrong? Let's go back to the mid-90s. The WTO was seen as a ticket to prosperity. Countries that joined expected more trade, more investment, and better development outcomes. India, with its huge population and promising economy, joined in 1995 with high hopes. 6 years later, China joined too, but from the very start, their strategies couldn't have been more different. India entered the WTO with a mindset of hesitation, bureaucracy, and protectionism. Even after joining, it clung tightly to outdated policies, red tape, and a sluggish, corruption-ridden system that made doing business nearly impossible. Ever heard of the license Raj or the permit Raj? It's a term that describes India's heavy and slow bureaucracy from 1950 to the 1990s, highlighting the fact that every business, no matter the size, had to obtain a license to operate, and these licenses were very difficult to obtain. China, on the other hand, treated WTO membership like a golden opportunity. It aggressively reformed, opened up and streamlined its systems to attract investment and become the manufacturing heart of the world. Let's look at the numbers. In 1995, India's GDP stood at around $360 billion. China's was about $730 billion. A bit higher, but not worlds apart. Fast forward to today, and China's GDP is over $18 trillion. India? Not even $4 trillion. That's not just a gap, that's an abyss. Bigger than the potholes on a dusty Indian road. What about poverty? In 1990, over 66% of China's population lived in extreme poverty. Today, it's less than 0.1%. China literally eradicated extreme poverty, a feat recognized even by the World Bank. India? It still has over 200 million people living on less than $2 a day, according to the World Poverty Clock. And if you increase that to $6 a day, which is still a measly amount, it becomes a whopping 80% of the population, or 1.1 billion people, according to the World Bank. It's the world's largest population of poor people. And keep in mind, these GDP and poverty numbers don't even tell the full picture. Modi loves to add cow dung sales to the calculations according to The Economist. It was found in 2016 that India inflated their GDP by adding $180 million worth of cow dung to the numbers. Infrastructure? It's not even close. China builds more high-speed rail in a year than India has built in its entire history. Its roads, airports, ports, and power grids are world-class. India, meanwhile, has potholes that look like craters and trains that still derail every other month. And don't even get me started about the lack of working public toilets, not just holes in the ground, but actual flushing ones. China's cities look like something out of a sci-fi movie, Blade Runner or something. India's cities, more like something out of a 1950s documentary. Congested, crumbling, and chaotic like a Bollywood slum. Let's talk education. China consistently ranks among the top performers in global education assessments like PISA. Chinese students dominate STEM fields and are flooding top global universities. India, meanwhile, struggles with basic literacy. According to the ACER report, a shocking number of Indian students in rural areas can't read a simple paragraph or do basic math even after years of schooling. Schools lack teachers, toilets, and even chalk. It's not just a gap in funding, it's a gap in seriousness. Remember that story last month about the university professor who smeared her classroom walls with cow dung because they didn't have working aircon? Yeah, that's how bad it is. Then, there's life expectancy. In 2000, India and China were close, both around 68 years. Today, China's life expectancy is over 78 years, while India's is just 70. That's not just about medical care, it's about air quality, sanitation, public health, and governance. India has polluted rivers that people consider holy and still bathe in, toxic air that chokes its cities, and a healthcare system that collapses every time there's a crisis. Just look at a list of most polluted cities in the world. All of them will be dominated by Indian cities. I've even done a video on it before if you want to watch it. What's even more ironic is that India actually had some advantages. It was a democracy, the world's largest, so it keeps boasting about. It had a large pool of English-speaking talent. It had a legal and political system that was based on their former British overlords that supposedly protected investors. But somehow China, a one-party state, a nation that suffered tremendously during World War II and the Great Famine, turned all of India's so-called advantages into footnotes. China welcomed foreign companies with open arms, built special economic zones, and created clear pathways for business. India made companies wade through endless paperwork, bribe government officials, and pray nothing gets stuck in the bureaucratic swamp. By the time an Indian project gets past the approval stage, a similar Chinese project has already been built, launched, and upgraded twice. Let's talk about human development. The Human Development Index, HDI, ranks countries based on health, education, and income. China's HDI in 2023 stood at 0.788, classified as high human development. India, just 0.633, medium human development. India ranks 132nd globally. China is 75th. That's a gap of over 50 positions in a ranking that's meant to reflect overall human well-being. There are 195 recognized countries in the world, so India is far closer to the bottom and China is much closer to the top. Even during COVID, the contrast was clear. China built hospitals in days, distributed aid efficiently, and contained the virus early, even if their initial transparency was questionable. India, meanwhile, saw bodies floating in rivers, oxygen shortages, and a health system in total collapse. The world watched in horror as India begged for oxygen while leaders held mass election rallies and religious gatherings. That wasn't just bad luck. That was bad governance. And here's the thing. None of this is accidental. It's the result of choices. India chose political drama over policy focus. It chose populism over planning. It chose religion over reform. And while Indian politicians were busy stirring up nationalism, banning movies, or rewriting textbooks about how they actually won in Aksai Chin, China was laser-focused on development, innovation, and trade. While Indian media ran primetime debates about interfaith marriages and beef bans, Chinese engineers were building maglev trains and launching space missions. There's a common phrase that sums up the situation perfectly. Chinese work, Indians talk. Even on the global stage, the difference is obvious. China is shaping trade routes through the Belt and Road Initiative. It's building ports in Africa, highways in Pakistan, and railroads in Central Asia. India, on the other hand, prefers to bully their neighbors. They can't even complete their own regional projects. It backs out of trade deals like RCEP, afraid of competition, while China embraces them and dominates. Just look at the fiasco with the US dollar and BRICS currency. When Donald Trump said he would destroy any idea of a BRICS currency, India immediately responded by saying that they were never thinking about it. Meanwhile, China already launched the digital yuan and a new payment system that bypasses SWIFT. Embarrassing. There's also a serious problem with the Indian mindset. In China, failure is an opportunity to improve. In India, failure is either ignored or blamed on the British. Every time India falls behind, someone brings up colonialism, population size, or how we're a democracy so it's harder. That excuse wore thin a long time ago. Democracy doesn't mean dysfunction. If anything, democracy should empower smart governance, not paralyze it. Even Indian billionaires are building their empires abroad. Why? Because they know it's easier to do business in Dubai, London, or Singapore than in Delhi or Mumbai. In China, billionaires at least invest domestically, building companies that contribute to national development, even if they occasionally fall out with the Communist Party. Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, these are all comparable with the mega conglomerates of the US. But India, where are they? There's a joke on social media that netizens love to use. China has DeepSeek, India has deep shit. Of course, China has its flaws. Authoritarianism, censorship, human rights concerns, they're somewhat real. But let's be honest, from a purely developmental point of view, China has delivered results that India can only dream of. You can't feed people ideology. They can't wipe their asses with democracy. You can't cure diseases with nationalism. And you definitely can't build infrastructure with WhatsApp forwards about ancient Indian science and how India is actually a superpower. India had the early lead. It had the goodwill, the support, the tech talent, and the democratic image. And yet, in the race of progress, it's been overtaken, outpaced, and frankly, humiliated by a country that started later but ran faster. So the next time someone tells you that India and China are on the same path, just remind them, same starting line, different race. And right now, India is still tying its shoelaces while China is already on the podium. If you want more brutally honest takes like this, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.